Hey everyone! Recently, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has risen from the ashes, and it's never been this exciting since Endgame. We've got Hugh Jackman back, Deadpool and Wolverine. We've got Robert Downey Jr. returning, and today I've got some news related to this Marvel hype. Let's take a look. Robert Downey Jr. Wild West's return to Marvel supposedly hinged on one condition. What could it be? The MCU greatly hindered his replacement Kang. And there's another story that's both funny and tragic. Jonathan Majors is heartbroken over Robert Downey Jr. as returned to the MCU since he was kicked out of Marvel. Folks, while I take a sip of my coffee, comment below which news excited you most, which caught your eye. Drop a comment while I have a sip, then we'll move on to the first story. Here we go. Robert Downey Jr. S return to Marvel reportedly hinged on one condition. What could it be? Hey everyone! San Diego Comic-Con was a blast, a huge moment for Marvel, and probably the biggest news was Robert Downey Jr. S return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He'll play Victor Von Doom in his second MCU phase, and reportedly only agreed if the Russo brothers direct the next Avengers films. First off, let me know in the comments if you're excited to see Robert Downey Jr. back in the Marvel Universe and what you think about him playing Victor Von Doom. Don't forget to like and share this video link in WhatsApp and Telegram groups to keep your friends in the loop, deal? Send it to DC fans too. Thanks. Let's keep going. Joey and Anthony Russo were the only ones he'd work with, said a source familiar with the Averite deal when discussing negotiations for Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. The Oscar-winning actor for Oppenheimer also requested his own private jet for travel during filming, a dedicated security team, and an entire trailer camp. Did he ask for scented candles too? So what do you think about this private jet situation? He probably already had a jet back during Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. What's your take on this? A trailer to keep away from the rest of the cast. Folks, what are your thoughts on him? Has success gone to his head? Leave your comments below. According to the source, getting the old team back together has been costly. The Russo brothers will earn $80 million for their work on upcoming Avengers blockbusters, while Robert Downey Jr. will take home significantly more. What significantly more? If the Russo brothers are going to get $80 million, it shouldn't be 81, 83. It should be 100 million. Apart from profit sharing, I don't know. What do you think is significantly more? Comment below. The Russians will produce both films through their company AGBO, marking a notable shift for Marvel, which generally avoids collaborating with outside producers and prefers to keep production in-house. In the case of Deadpool and Wolverine, it was produced by Ryan Reynolds, and it's working very well. In 5 days, it has already made $500 million. $500 million, right? So Marvel is changing its mind, making the adaptations Avengers. Doomsday will replace the previously announced Kang Dynasty due to legal issues involving actor Jonathan Majors, who played Kang in some MCU projects. Although there was speculation that the character would be recast, Marvel chose to eliminate the old story arc altogether. Instead, Downey's Dr. Doom is set to be the next big villain in the popular superhero franchise. Now, a question. Did you know that the casting of Robert Downey Jr. wasn't a total secret? While Downey's return surprised many Fantastic Four, First Steps director Matt Shakman was already in the know. The filmmaker recently shared his thoughts on the cast, saying, "It's incredibly exciting. I'm a big fan of Robert Downey Jr., of course, and there's no one bigger. I knew that for a while and I had to keep it a secret, but it really is exciting. I kept that like biting my nails, right? The big secret I wanted to share with people. So imagine having a secret like that, right? You can't even tell your cousin, your wife, because you'll tell your wife's friend who tells her husband, who is a Marvel fan, and posts it. That's fucked, right? Downey made his MCU debut as Tony Stark in Iron Man in 2008. At first, there was some skepticism about his casting due to his troubled past, right? Damn, he had a drug problem, he was arrested and everything. Very good actor since always. I always remember Sherlock Holmes, for example, sensational, and several other movies. But he was in the fall, right? Robert Downey Jr.'s Joel West portrayal brought a charismatic and deeply human element to the role, mixing wit, vulnerability, and confidence. His performance as billionaire, playboy, and philanthropist was universally praised, making him synonymous with the character. Robert Downey Jr. reprised the role in several films, becoming a central figure in the MCU. He starred in Iron Man 2, 2010, The Avengers 2012, Iron Man 3 2013, Avengers Age of Ultron 2015, Captain America Civil War 2016, Spider-Man Homecoming 2017, and Avengers Infinity War 2018. Mr. Stark 2017 and Avengers Infinity War 2018. Got you thinking, huh? Robert Downey Jr. returning to his destiny. Imagine him in the Fantastic Four universe, separate from the main one. Somehow, he enters the main universe and Spider-Man spots him, right? He says, Mr. Stark, yeah? And just as he gets close, Victor Von Doom slaps the kid. Can you picture it? In conclusion, it's fascinating. Oh, and remember, he was also in Infinity War and Endgame where he died, right? Finally, to wrap up, it's fascinating to see how Robert Downey Jr.'s SS return to the MCU is stirring up fan excitement. Choosing to play Victor Von Doom and insisting on working with the Russo brothers shows how selective Downey is with his projects. This only reinforces the impact he's had and continues to have in the Marvel Universe. After all, he's won an Oscar, he's loaded, he didn't need to come back. Marvel seems ready to invest big to reunite this iconic team and deliver films that'll surely make history. So, what do you think about this new Marvel era with Robert Downey Jr. as a villain? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm eager to hear your take on this twist. If you found this news interesting, like, share, and subscribe. Robert Downey Jr. as returned to the MCU greatly hindered Kang, his intended replacement. Let's check out this news story. Folks, Avengers Doomsday's announcement revealed that Robert Downey Jr. will play the villain, Dr. Doom, famous for his role as Iron Man Tony Stark in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as everyone knows. This confirms the film replaces Avengers Kang Dynasty, signaling Dr. Doom's imminent arrival. Sadly, Marvel Studios' actor choice wasn't well received, and for good reason. First off, you know the drill. Comment below if you think Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom is a solid pick for the MCU's future. Don't forget to like and share this video link in WhatsApp and Telegram groups, especially to DC fans. Just kidding, but do share it. Thanks. Let's move on. There are several issues with reusing Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom, even with the explanations that some fans try to provide. While it makes sense to remove Kang the Conqueror as the main villain, doing so this way seems random and cheap. Even if the decision proves successful, it follows a dangerous nostalgia trend that may ultimately be insufficient to correct the MCU's current trajectory. Unfortunately, Kang the Conqueror ended up being Marvel's most lackluster villain. Before the announcement of Dr. Doom's imminent debut, the current MCU villain, Kang the Conqueror, played by Jonathan Majors, was supposed to be the next Thanos, acting similarly to the villain in the Infinity Saga. Reimagined from a time traveler to a multiverse-based villain, one of his variants appeared in the first season of Loki, which aired on Disney+, before the real Kang debuted in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. What a disaster. This movie was intended to set Kang on the path to replace Thanos, but it actually harmed his future prospects. Quantumania was widely criticized and was a box office flop, being one of the first of its kind for Marvel, which was accustomed to anything billion. And besides Kang being defeated by ants, but hold on, I'm about to talk about that. One of the major problems with the film was showing a villain about to become the enemy of the Marvel Cinematic Universe being defeated and seemingly killed by the Avengers, one of the weaker Avengers. That's Ant-Man for you. This was made worse by the post-credits scene involving Kang's advice, which only made the character even more ridiculous. That is, it was a failed version. Although Majors was praised in his role as an actor, especially for his appearances as variants in the first and second seasons of Loki, this was not enough to save a villain who was already considered boring. Kang's never been a major threat, even in comics. The Avengers face him more as a nuisance than a real danger. Though I hoped it'd work out, I'm a sucker for time travel. Picking Kang to replace Thanos was iffy. Seemingly based solely on Major's villain performance, he lacked Thanos' menace and was basically beaten by TVA schemes in Loki Season 2. This became necessary due to the issues. I think Locke's post-credit scene was meant to set up Major's dismissal, who was already part of the process. He was later convicted and ultimately fired. In the end, TVA was already hunting other Kang variants, unbeknownst to some. This became necessary due to legal issues and accusations against Jonathan Major, fired from a now toxic role. With these problems, continuing Kang's storyline didn't make sense. Even die-hard fans lost interest in an easily defeated villain, and making him a threat to all Avengers seemed far-fetched. Comment below, did you like Kang? Should his story continue without the original actor? Could he be recast like the Hulk was? What about War Machine? Share your thoughts below. If he had an infinite number of variants, such a conflict would have no real impact and would just be an army of nasty villains. Many fans hoped that Kang's storyline would be abandoned in favor of another villain like Dr. Destino. Given that Fantastic Four First Steps is one of the upcoming MCU projects that recently started filming, switching to this villain would make sense for Dr. Destino, as Dr. Destino is the main villain of the Fantastic Four. Unfortunately, the way this is being done is kind of forced and desperate. He hopes it works. Do you agree that it wasn't organically orchestrated? It wasn't naturally pushed? Do you agree with me? Comment below. The choice of Robert Downey Jr. as Destino presents several problems. Casting Robert Downey Jr. as Destino is something that already seems problematic from the beginning and gets even more worrying when you think about how it will be applied. One of the ideas is that despite being called Victor Van Dool, this version of Dr. Destino would just be another version of Tony Stark with the same face. This would create an emotional impact for the Avengers, especially Spider-Man when he's unmasked. Oh, Dr. Stark, Mr. Stark. If he were to play the part, it would waste Dr. Destino's character and connect him too closely to the Avengers and Tony Stark. On the other hand, even though Dr. Destino is completely separate from Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. will always be associated with the role of Iron Man. Traditional and dedicated fans will always associate Robert Downey Jr. His iconic portrayal of Iron Man, especially his heroic death in Avengers Endgame. Any other actor could have played Dr. Destino, as talents like Cillian Murphy, the star of Oppenheimer, have proven online with various fan fiction images and more. He would have had the same level of acting as Robert Downey Jr. The problem is not within the MCU universe because it has the emotional connection to Robert Downey Jr., but Cillian Murphy has sensational talent. The fact that Robert was cast in the role after having already played Iron Man is seen by some as an act of desperation by Marvel. After all, the MCU has been declining in recent years with recent films and most of the TV shows, the Disney Plus series failing to recreate the success of previous projects or being harshly criticized. Only a few films have really stood out, and bringing back the face of the MCU to replace a failed villain may be seen as a sign that the glory days of the shared universe in the MCU have passed. No one doubts Robert Downey Jr.'s talent, especially after seeing him in various TV series roles, for example. In Oppenheimer, I've always felt this way. He left Marvel, and if he failed in various roles and returned to Marvel, it could be for money, but he went there, won an Oscar, and he's a billionaire. He's not coming back for money, although he's going to make a lot of money. It's money. He didn't even need money, nor did he need to prove himself. So he's really coming back because he likes playing Tony Stark, and now it's more of a challenge for him to play the biggest villain of the Fantastic Four, one of Marvel's greatest. It's not just any little villain, not the Mole Man or anything like that. Another explanation could be the fact that the MCU is currently in the multiverse saga, supposedly justifying this casting choice. Even so, wasting the MCU debut of a highly anticipated Marvel villain as a marketing ploy tied to a rejected concept is a mistake. Dr. Doom's legend deserves a proper adaptation, especially after being mishandled in previous Fantastic Four films. Though I'm saying all this to be controversial, right? I'm basically just bouncing my own opinions off each other. I think it'd be interesting, though risky, to have a Tony Stark from another universe who for some reason turned into a villain regardless of his name, knowing that the Tony Stark we're familiar with is egocentric. Iron Man's Tony was egocentric, dealt with weapons, and had questionable ethics. And even though he grew and improved, becoming a hero in Age of Ultron, he still wanted to put robots everywhere to control people. In the Civil War, for instance, he was on the wrong side. Captain America was on the right side. He wanted to control the crowd. So, seeing a Tony Stark from another universe who's practically the same Tony Stark, but leaning towards the wrong side and then turning into a big villain, which is Dr. Doom, who's exactly like Dr. Doom. He has several features, not from Tony Stark, but he has several features of Tony Stark. The guy's a billionaire, the guy's a genius. There's the matter of magic because he's science and magic and the like. I believe it can work out, but it's 89% risk and 11% chance of it working out. But it can work and I'm rooting for it. Given all of this, it's clear that the decision to cast Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom raises several questions about the future of the MCU. While Thanos was meticulously built over several years and movies, Dr. Doom seems to be hastily filling a void left by Kang. This, coupled with the fact that Downey Jr. will always be remembered as Iron Man, could harm the reception of the MCU's most anticipated villain. And you, what do you think? Is Marvel making the right choice, or is this a self-inflicted wound? Comment below. If you found the news interesting, like, share, and subscribe. Jonathan Majors is heartbroken about Robert Downey Jr.'s return to the MCU. After all, Downey Jr.'s comeback is closely linked to the rough patch he went through there, being fired and having to leave the role of Kang. Let's talk about it. Hi everyone, Robert Downey Jr. is returning to the MCU, which has excited many fans, but not others. However, one former actor in the franchise was quite shaken by this news. Jonathan Majors, who was originally going to return as Kang in the fifth Avengers movie, shared his emotional reaction to the news that the film's focus shifted to Dr. DeCino, hosted by Robert Downey Jr. To start, you already know, comment below if you think Marvel should give Jonathan Majors a second chance as Kang. We want to hear your opinion. Don't forget to like and share the link to this video in WhatsApp and Telegram groups with the people you care about to keep them updated on this topic. Also, the people you don't like and the Decenauts. Thank you. Let's proceed. The news also revealed that the fifth Avengers movie was officially renamed Avengers Doomsday, concluding Kang Major's character in the sequel previously known as Kang Dynasty. His name was there, right? Not even Thanos had his name there, right? According to TMZ, Majors has commented on Downey Jr.'s return to the OMCU, and it seems to be difficult news for the actor to accept. Asked if he felt hurt by the new direction Marvel was taking, Majors replied, "Yes, heartbroken." Sure, come on, yes, of course. He loves him, Robert Downey Jr., but he loves Kang more, right? Dr. Doom is a good role. Important information, Jonathan Majors is still open to returning as Kang, like in his position. He must be sending WhatsApp messages to Kevin Feige and gets no reply, you know what I mean? Received 2, right? And then the blue tick is seen. A little time means it didn't even arrive, right? Or Kevin Feige must have even blocked Majors on WhatsApp, right? Anyway, what do you think? Should he get a second chance? Comment below. Majors was also asked about how actors like Robert Downey Jr. and Ezra Miller from The Flash were arrested for serious crimes and yet kept important roles. Who doesn't know? Robert Downey Jr. has always been an excellent actor. I love him, for example, in Oppenheimer, obviously. But in Sherlock Holmes, for example, I'm waiting for Sherlock Holmes 3, man. Drugs, he was arrested, and then when they called him for Iron Man, the crowd didn't want him. It was Jon Favreau who gave him a chance, and he must have Jon Favreau in his prayers anyway. But Ezra Miller was arrested, The Flash, a nuisance anyway, but he was arrested, as were Downey Jr. and Majors arrested. So why can't he get a second chance? Anyway, right? The crime Majors was convicted of was a misdemeanor, and he was asked if losing his MCU role seemed unfair. Majors said it's fair that Downey and Miller are respected and continue working in Hollywood. He also noted not understanding why he can't get the same treatment, but said he'd love to return as Kang if fans wanted. I think it's fair that Mr. Downey is treated with patience, curiosity, and love, and that Mr. Miller received the same, allowing them to work creatively at that level. I really don't understand why I can't have the same chance. It seems Marvel Studios won't be calling Majors back anytime soon, after he was found guilty of assault and harassment in a March 2023 incident, which I covered here on the channel, involving his then girlfriend. So much, the Majors still love their role in the MCU and haven't closed the door on a return in the future. He was asked about his interest in reprising the role of Kang and spoke about the possibility, expressing that he would love to return. Guys, after what we said here, it is clear that the return of Robert Downey Jr. to the MCU causes great expectation for good and for bad. Jonathan Major expressed his frustration, but also showed respect for his colleagues and love for his character, Kang. This opens up an interesting discussion about how the industry treats different situations, albeit with similar things. Will we see the Major back in the MCU? Does his passion for the role suggest he's more than ready to return? What do you think? Major is an excellent actor. Unfortunately, he had this issue of aggression, which has to be treated seriously. What didn't stick was the villain. I'm sure that if the villain was embraced by the people, either Marvel would let the dust settle and call him, or we would be in the multiverse. It would just recast the role and enjoy the actor. But anyway, in this case, the villain was not well accepted. If you liked the video, share, and subscribe. Indications of the next videos are now appearing on your screen. It makes perfect sense for you to watch it. I'll see you guys in the next video. See you later.